Hello, welcome back to the Yarn Chicken. My name is Elizabeth, I'm a knitter from Sweden, and today I want to go through with you 9 lessons that I learned about my knitting in 2025 and some of the projects that actually prompted those lessons. Lesson number 1 is a half twisted rib looks very neat. It does have its place. I didn't really use twisted stitches at all in my knitting until 2025 when I stumbled over people doing it by accident on the knitting subreddit and the twist fac being very commonly used, but I started incorporating it in a half twisted rib and I really liked the effect. It makes for a neater column and it doesn't stretch as much, but it looks very neat. So use this with caution. If you need it to stretch a lot, don't use a twisted rib. If you want to have a very neat rib, do use it. The second lesson also has to do with this sweater. This is the Gemma polo by Cookie the Knitter, and the second lesson is that I always tend to have to size up on my needles on the bigger needle sizes. Anything that is a size 3 or a 3mm needle and smaller, I usually stay on gauge, but for the bigger needle sizes, I always have to size up. This, for example, I had to size up 0.5 millimeter, and for this project, my Hraundrangi sweater by Dagbjört Gudmundsdottir, I had to size up 1.5 millimeters for the main body. So that is quite a big difference in meeting gauge. But for example, with my smaller needle sizes, with a sock or a small needle colour work like the Juicy Fruit mittens, I could stay on gauge with the recommended needle size because I probably just knit very tightly on bigger needle sizes, and therefore I need the needles to be bigger to leave as much room as needed. Lesson number 3, we are still on topic with this sweater. I hate superwash yarn for garments. Superwash for socks, great. Everything else, I despise. This is a project that took me that I had such high hopes with. I bought the recommended yarn. This is the Lana Grossa Super Soft, and it is a very soft merino, but it's also superwash treated. There's no nylon in it, it's just superwash coated, and I can feel it. If I get any sort of moisture, be it sweat or precipitation or something dripping down, when I wash my hands, dripping down into my sleeves, instead of the moisture wicking into the fabric, it just balls up into a little pearl and stays there and feels gross against my skin. And that is the main reason why I haven't worn this at all. I went through my wardrobe today because I wanted to disprove a point, and I chose this, and I'm going to take it off and put something else on as soon as I finish filming this, because it's just not a pleasant experience. If you have a different experience, amazing, love that for you, but my sensory sensations cannot handle superwash treated yarn as a garment. It's great for socks. I am actually wearing superwash treated socks, and that sort of does make sense for me. I don't really feel it. I'm not a very sweaty person, so I suppose that could be a different thing if you were to have quite sweaty feet, or if you get your feet damp a lot, but I don't. So superwash, great for durability, but hate for the sensory experience. Also, superwash treated yarn doesn't felt into each other, it doesn't grip into each other, so the ends of my sweater I've woven in just like I usually do, but they are creeping out. They aren't really evening out as I would want them to either. You can see here is an end sticking out. I think there is one like on the bottom of on the inside of the sleeves. It doesn't even out, it doesn't hide very well. whereas in my other projects with non-superwash yarn, the fibres sort of felt together a little bit, hiding imperfections and hiding ends that I have woven in. Right here, they're quite obvious. It's not what I want. Lesson number 4, we are staying with the Gemma polo for a little while. Lesson number 4 is that for a lot of bigger designers, the recommended yarn for a project is actually sponsored or given to the designer by a brand, and hey, getting free yarn to do a project with, to sell to the broader audience, to have a photo shoot with, and to give different colouring options that might not be your particular cup of tea, but you know that the audience would like to see it in a different colour than what you would choose for yourself. As a designer, that's a really smart choice. As a business person, go get that free yarn. However, the recommended yarn is therefore not the pattern designer's first choice. I don't think any pattern designers willfully would choose a bad yarn, but for example, this superwash treated yarn was the recommended yarn for this project, and for me it was an absolute bust. And I think I had something similar happen. Yes, I did, with a Cascade tank top that I just recently uploaded a video about. I think the recommended yarn for that is also the same that I used, and it was a nightmare to work with. It didn't even look that good in the end because the fibres were sort of unclear. And I think that's also one of the reasons why it's so important to know your pattern designer, and why people find one pattern designer that they like the writing style of and the actual silhouettes of, but also because you learn the pattern designer's peculiarities. That was a difficult word, but you learn their preferences and their peculiarities when it comes to yarn choices, so you can sort of make up your own mind about what yarn to use and how to interpret the recommended yarn for a specific designer. Lesson number 5. I am an absolute outfit repeater. I can't help it, I'm just an outfit repeater. I wear the same things on repeat because I love them, they're comfortable, they suit my needs, and I'm proud of them. Case in point, the Hraundrangi again. Lovely stuff, great sweater, absolutely smashing, and I've worn it to death. It's basically become my new uniform at work. I wear that and a pair of jeans or a pair of slacks, and that's the outfit. And the next day, I'll do the same thing. So I think being a prolific knitter is definitely compatible with being an outfit repeater, because I usually knit socks, and that's one of the things that I do best. And socks, I need to change every day, but a big sweater, sign me up for 7 days in a row with the same sweater. I'll be there. I do have a few patterns that I want to get into for next year, for this year, 2026. But honestly, for the winter season, the Hraundrangi is just perfect. Lesson number 6 is how I pick up my stitches. I used to pick up one leg of a stitch and keep it on my needle, then go in and pick up the next. So I would place my needle with all of the stitches, and then I would go back and knit all of the stitches. This would usually be when I knit socks. So I would take one of my DPNs and I would pick up stitches on the heel flap, on the side of the heel flap, place my needle, and then go back to the first stitch that I picked up and knit all across. Nowadays, what I do instead is I pinch the fabric between my hands, the stitches, the edge where I need to pick up stitches, and I go into both of the legs of that first stitch, go under that and pick up a stitch and knit it immediately. So that's sort of the difference. I do one step less than I used to do, and I think the result is neater, and it's also quicker, and it feels like the stitches stretch less. So picking up two instead of one leg of the stitch and picking it up as I go instead of placing my needle and then knitting. I can't even remember where I learned it from, but I think it was last year, and I think it was probably with a pair of socks. Did I see someone pick up their stitches like that on like an Instagram reel or something? Lesson number 7. I don't like spaghetti straps on myself. I learned that, hang on, where is it? I learned that by knitting the Camisole number 4 by My Favourite Things Knitwear. These are very much spaghetti straps. Don't like them. They feel uncomfortable. I feel too naked. I am not in any way opposed to showing a little skin, showing a little cleavage, showing a little arm, a little shoulder situation. Love showing my collarbone. I often like to wear something that's quite open so I can show off my collarbones because they look great, if you ask me. But what I don't like is spaghetti straps. I don't know if it's the fact that they are placed too wide, too far out on my body, on my shoulders, or that they are too thin, that they look like they should do something for me that they don't. I'm not looking for coverage, I'm not looking for modesty, but I'm looking for symmetric lines and sensible lines for my body, and I carry a lot of, not weight, but width in my shoulders and in my neck portion, according to me. So, and the rest of my body is quite long and a little daintier. So I don't want that juxtaposition between my strong features and dainty straps that I sort of can't pull off, because I can do dainty in other portions of my life and other portions of my body, but right here, not so much. So that was an unfortunate project for me to knit, because this is 100% silk from Knitting for Olive. It's such a light project, such a good thing for summer. I've worn it a lot and I've just never been really comfortable with it. It is an I-cord spaghetti strap, and I don't know if I would re-knit this or take it out and knit the straps to be wider, because I think that would take a lot of the design feature that is sort of the unique selling point for this cami. So I don't know what I would do, except I would definitely re-knit a summer top with the pure silk by Knitting for Olive, because it's a great fabric. I wouldn't do the white though. I think it's become a little bit dingy after wearing and sweating and washing them so many times. The 8th and penultimate lesson that I learned is, don't gift knit something as a surprise if you are not prepared to re-knit the entire thing if it doesn't fit properly. How did I learn this? I learned this by knitting my partner a sweater for Christmas. My tall Scandinavian partner, a sweater for Christmas that ended up being too small. A seamed raglan colourwork worked flat. I did all of that purling, I did colourwork, purling, only for it to end up too small. I thought that I had done all of the measurements correctly. I had used one of his existing sweaters to measure against, and I thought it looked good. And then came December 24th. He tried it on. It was too small. Hated that for myself, but I've re-knit it. I'm nearly finished. I am also, for the second time, re-knitting something, because the sleeves ended up far too long after blocking. I posted a video about that, a knitting podcast about it, the fact that I have to take, like, I'm not kidding, this much. It's 32 rows of length I have to take off from the sleeves. I have done the first, and this took me most of Lord of the Rings, and now I have to do the second, and I will probably have to get on the Two Towers, because I need a distraction from that, because it's quite tedious. It's 110 stitches around, and it's just placing 2 lifelines, unraveling between them, and then Kitchener stitching together 110 stitches. It's It's a lot. It's worth it. It looks great. It's going to look great, but it's a lot. And that brings me to the last lesson that I learned in 2025, and that is, if I am not pleased with a result, it is worth to reknit a pattern. How do I know this? I know this because I knitted the Knitting Lotta Juicy Fruit mittens 2 years ago. These are not going to be very visible in this lighting. It's February in Sweden. What can I tell you? It's dark. But this color combination, and especially the yarn. This is light fingering made sock yarn with nylon, superwash treated. It doesn't lend itself to a great color work mitten. It doesn't felt, so therefore it's quite wind irresistant. It's not compatible with a Swedish winter, and I've used them and I've loved them for 2 seasons, and then I finally bit the bullet and I reknit the pattern, and here they are. These are knit in Rauma fin ull, 100% wool, no superwash in sight. I have felted them a little bit and they are so much more wind resistant, they are so much more comfortable, and it's just such a great reminder to reknit things if you're not pleased with the first result. This sweater also helped me to get over myself and unravel something that doesn't serve me. The ultimate thing that I want to achieve with my knitting is wearable pieces. Yes, some of it is knitting for the process and learning and having something to do with my hands. It's a great coping mechanism. It's a great way to keep my hands busy when my mind is doing its own thing. It's a great way to keep myself present in meetings that should definitely have been an email, or while I'm talking to my loved ones on the phone. I need something to do with my hands, and if I pick up my phone and start scrolling, I'm not going to be present in the moment. So yes, the process is important, but the final piece is also one of the reasons why I do this. So unraveling and reknitting is definitely worth it. I haven't, however, learned that I can unravel and salvage yarn from a project that I actually really am proud of. Because these, I'm not ready to let go of them. I should just unravel them and cannibalize them for yarn, because in this household, light fingering weight yarn in a yellow and a white is definitely going to get used up. I knit so many socks, and those are 2 great sock colours, and for colour work especially, and I'm not going to use them now that I have these, but I'm not ready to say goodbye just yet. So what I've said is that I will keep those in my cupboard, and before next winter season, I'm going to decide what to do with them. So that is it. Those are the 9 lessons that I learned about my knitting in 2025. I'm very excited to see what 2026 has in store for me when it comes to lessons. I hope there are no heartbreaks, but I definitely think there will be lessons. And I want to know what your lessons for 2025 were. Are you a long-time knitter? Have you been knitting for 20 years like I have? Have you just started your knitting journey? Have you recently switched over to knitting from a different craft? Do let me know what you have learned in 2025. And I hope to see you in my next one. Bye.